Hello there and welcome to another live chapter reading for Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Today I shall be reading from Ashes of Aldyr, The Obscured Throne Trilogy, Book 1 by Russel, Archey. Prologue, The Rupture. The skies outside were clear and blue from one horizon to the other. It seemed almost poor timing to ruin such a beautiful view from high on the hillside, where his home nestled hidden in the trees. But this was an event centuries upon centuries in the making. It was his work, the studies of Jeremiah Colworth, that took his order's work from mere study, hypothesis and conjecture, and brought it to a grand scale. He ran his old knobbly fingers over the cover of a large tome. The barbed diamond shaped engraved on the front, particularly its small dot in the centre, stared back at him. This book had been his life for the past few decades. He had already grown old when he had first found it. His intellectual pursuits were many, but none had prepared him for this journey in his life. He was a man who once believed in the gods of his people too, but he found others, the others, those that waited beyond. The traditional gods may still exist, but they were nothing compared to what he had found. Jeremiah placed the book in a satchel and left it on his writing desk. Others may come and find the book. It may be of some of his order or random passers-by, but that was irrelevant. They would partake of them. This was an original copy, possibly the first. It practically reeked of the darkest magics, so much that it may have gained a mind of its own. It was a pleasing but unproven thought. Standing shakily to his feet, he looked at the body lying on the floor, his apprentice. She had been a good lass. The fact that she couldn't understand his work, their work, left him feeling deep pangs of regret. He should have told her sooner instead of waiting until the last minute. He knew it would be a shock one way or the other. He thought that perhaps if she had seen the fruit of their labours first, she would have better understood. She was talented and would have done well in their new world. Such a pity that it had to come to this. Her death caused him great heartache. It was not even a valuable sacrifice, simply a loss of her talent. He sighed and untied the loose knot holding his black robes in place. His hands trembled and he carefully pulled the robes off one shoulder, wincing as the cloth ran over the cuts on his body. The other half of the robe sloughed off his body like dead skin, revealing bleeding runes carved into his aged, withered frame. He walked out the front door of his small utilitarian home. From the hillside it overlooked the town below, a little place on the outskirts of the capital of the city-state of Carnelia. It was an unimportant town, full of unimportant people. Those he once called friends were still down there, though. Jeremiah tried to explain everything to them. He wanted them to know. After he first found the profound knowledge held within a tome on his desk, he too had been afraid. More than afraid, he was terrified. It took much study and contemplation to finally realise what, ironically, reality truly was. Everyone from the lowliest stable boy to the archmagi and high priests to the gods themselves were wrong. In fact, Jeremiah had never seen any proof of the existence of the gods of man, dwarf, elf-kind, or any other, but he had seen the others, those that waited. He no longer feared them, at least not as he used to. It was now a different fear, a reverent fear. None of his former friends or colleagues would conform to his ideas, however, and they would be lost, like all the others. Jeremiah's strength continued to ebb. The blood flowed from the numerous symbols and invocations etched upon his flesh. The blood-blessed writings called into them. He stood on the edge of the natural stone landing in front of his home, wherein his apprentice lay with her blood pooling pointlessly. He smiled, knowing his sacrifice would open the first window. His blood would let the world of Aldyr see that it could hide no longer, that a new throne, the oldest throne, was returning. Spreading his arms, he felt the wind course around his body. It tickled his skin where the blood rapidly cooled against him. His grey beard and long hair fluttered like a pennon. Others had completed their sacred tasks before him, some long ago, and some even by accident, but his would be the last needed for now. He fell backward, waiting only briefly for his body to crash into the stone of the landing. After the briefest moment of pain, Jeremiah Colworth's body, carved with the language of the forbidden, the cosmic, the profane, and the indescribable, exploded into a red mist. Not a single solid piece of viscera remained. He disintegrated into the basest elements, all deep crimson. The drops and splatters rolled into rivulets and formed a symbol matching the one on the cover of his precious tome, a diamond with curling barbs at each corner and a rough-edged dot in the centre. The red image stained the stones immediately to become a place of dreadful power and unspeakable magic. The dot, which had seemed to stare back at Jeremiah like a vacant eye, had unsettled him despite his fevered convictions and loosening grip on reality, deepened in colour. It turned from deep red to crimson, then black, as the void of night where light dare never tread. In those moments, many around the world would say they felt a small tremor, but none knew that it came from that sanguine mark on the unnamed hillside. The small dot, no bigger than a fist, groaned with the cries of a world dying. To look upon it, one would think that they were sinking into the world itself. The dot became a hole, a door, a passage that fell further and further into the core of the world and beyond. Aldyr cried out, and every creature from every continent heard. A vicious cacophony rang out from the sky. The bright blue of the day turned to an angry red, like an agitated wound. In the blink of an eye, a veil of ghostly hair-like strands stretched and writhed across the sky. Like a pale aurora, the strange sight ran over all of Carnelia, off to the horizons, and was visible across the world of Aldyr. Scholars swore that they saw patterns of stars never recorded. Others say the dark there was deeper than pitch. Then there were those who were shouting and swearing that they saw other things watching them from beyond the ghostly strands. Very few of these people knew the name of Jeremiah Colworth, or the order which he served, but Jeremiah left his mark on the world, rather a mark wholly belonging to another. A presence longing for the shores and fields and creatures of Aldyr for eons. The throes of men, dwarves, and elf-kind were but stone and steel, the most ancient forebears of this people, young when compared to the rightful lord of this world. As Jeremiah asked his ill-fated apprentice, "What are stone and steel against the vast majesty of sentient nothing?" I hope you enjoyed this chapter reading and that you'll go check out the book. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.